There are a bunch of different types of stories that people across the world have told over and over again. The love stories, the stories of adventure, we've heard it all in different forms. Stories of revenge, though, go beyond just that of a storyteller. Some of your favorite movies or shows are all revenge stories. Revenge in general seems to be a intense emotion and feeling that people sometimes feel. This, though, is the core reason why these stories are just that powerful. It's a story that no matter what your background is, you can relate to in one way or another. Someone in your lifetime, I bet, has done you wrong, right? And I know you wish you could have got back at them. That's that raw emotion I was talking about. And have you ever asked yourself when it comes to a revenge story, what makes them so good? Or what is it about the characters or their journeys in these stories that garners so many people's attention? Well, don't worry. I've done all the hard work for you and contemplated the answers to just that question. So stick around as I tell you everything that makes up a great revenge story. I want to tell you a story. It starts with a young boy. He spends his days playing in the snow with his friends and family. At night, he's serenaded by tales of his ancestors and whispers of a beautiful promised land. The boy is content and life is good. But the boy's life is just only beginning. And his story is far from one of peace and prosperity. As fate would have it, the boy's father was once a famed warrior, and his feats were nothing short of legendary. And although his father now enjoys the quiet life of a farmer, far away from the battlefield, the battle is never truly far from him. Due to a series of unfortunate events, the violent past of the father eventually catches up with him. The past was still full of soldiers looking for war and warriors left with no other options. The father must now say goodbye to his farm, family, and the quiet life and return to the battlefield. But this time, unbeknownst to the father, the boy joined him. And as the father and other warriors embark on a journey filled with peril, so too did the boy. Inevitably, the father and other warriors were soon to face with the enemy. The father not only lived up to his legendary status as a warrior on the battlefield, but he exceeded it. He took down countless combatants with nothing more than just his bare hands. And he did it with remarkable ease. So much so that it seemed like at one point he could win the entire encounter by himself. But, like I said, this story is far from peace and prosperity. As the father was ready to declare victory, the enemy managed to grab the boy and take him hostage. The boy who has no place on the battlefield, the boy who snuck aboard and was meant to keep out of sight, the boy who loved his father dearly and was loved in return. So with no hesitation and a heavy heart, the father surrenders all for the boy, and the boy in return surrenders as well. He surrenders his childhood, he surrenders his homeland, he even surrenders his humanity for revenge. Sweet, bloody revenge. Well, if you haven't figured out by now, this is the story of the main character of Vinland Saga, Thorfinn. Thorfinn's story is a prime example of how a basic revenge tale will likely to be used to start a story. It provides a narrative easy for most people at any age to comprehend, excluding the blood-curdling violence, of course. This is a narrative that is just as gut-wrenching as it is engaging. Despite all the horrors young Thorfinn will endure, we just can't turn away. We're simply just obsessed with seeing him avenge his father's death just as he is. Many of the best revenge stories go deeper below the surface level, what makes a revenge story great. They usually tackle a few things that make the stories more nuanced, including the concept of cost and consequences. This mainly focuses on what it takes to obtain the revenge a character is seeking. Are they losing part of themselves, their principles, or even others they love in this pursuit? You're presented with Quentin Tarantino's answer to that question in examples like the Kill Bill movies. The bride, at her core, isn't a vengeful nor hateful person, but that newfound moral compass she gained before the film's beginning was forfeited when she began seeking revenge. The bride throughout the movies is determined to find and kill everyone who took part in her attempted murder, no matter the cost or who gets in her way. But I don't think she fully understands what it means until her encounter with Vivica A. Fox's character, Vernita Green. Vernita most definitely was what we like to call a horrible person. In her past, she was an assassin who killed for money and hurt a lot of people. At some point, Vernita decided to retire and turn over a new leaf though, leaving all that bad stuff from her past behind her, gaining a better moral compass, similar to the bride, even allowing for her to get married and have a daughter of her own. This fact, though, came midway through the death battle that Beatrix and Vernita had in her living room. See, Beatrix comes face to face with a future that she could have had without Vernita's action. Although this made her slightly empathetic, revenge left her with no mercy or compassion or forgiveness. See, in this situation, Beatrix gave the option to let Vernita live for the moment and not put this young girl through a trauma that she would never forget, creating a continuous chain link revenge that could potentially go on forever. Or there's the option she chose. See, this first kill solidifies a change in Uma Thurman's character. She's now essentially become the thing that she sought revenge on, a demon viper who would violently destroy a happy family. And she fully understands there is no going back. She even acknowledges the likelihood that she would more than likely face the same vengeance she brought to Vernita's doorstep at some point in the future at the hands of her daughter, Nikki. In the journey of seeking revenge, you become just like, if not worse, than the monster you're trying to slay. Outside of revenge changing you ethically and morally throughout the journey, there are physical changes one can go through. Some revenge tales use physical transformation of a character to symbolize just how much they're being corrupted or losing parts of themselves throughout the entire journey. Some characters will lose limbs, ears, toes, or other vital organs, or even extremities. In more subtle ways, some stories will use the aspect of an outfit like a wedding dress or a suit being slowly destroyed throughout the story to be that symbolization of corruption or destruction along the way. This physical representation of revenge having cause tends to be one that most people tend to gravitate towards because it's outward and physical. It's easier to understand than any questioning of an internal belief. The stories that do this the best tend, in my opinion, to be horror themed or spooky. The horror genre in particular is no stranger to chopping people up to get a subtle message across. Virtually every story about revenge goes hand in hand with sacrifice. In order for someone to hunt down the monster that destroyed their life, they must in turn become one themselves. And that kind of transformation inevitably leaves its mark, whether it be mentally, physically, or both. The movie Inglorious Bastards is often cited for its script, sense of tension, and iconic characters. And out of all of them, Hans, the Jew hunter Landa, reigns supreme. A sadistic psychopath who delights in playing games of cat and mouse with nearly everyone he comes across. The film opens with Hans playing such a game with an unsuspecting farmer over a few glasses of milk. As the conversation goes on, it quickly becomes clear that the Jew hunter has found more prey and is ready to pounce. The tension reaches a boiling point when we realize that a small family is hidden underneath the floorboards and figure out that Hans is aware of it as well. The Jew hunter lives up to his namesake and dispatches the unholiest of judgment onto the family from above. But to the dismay and bizarre delight of this megalomaniacal fiend, one of the family's daughters, Josana, manages to survive the onslaught. As she flees in abject terror and bloody disarray, two things become very clear. One, she will never be the same. And two, vengeance shall be hers. Every action has a reaction, and her reaction is stuff of legend. She didn't just want to exact her revenge on her family's killer, but the entire empire that spawned them. But in order to bring down a beast of such magnitude, one cannot simply use a weapon as cruel as a firearm. No. The only thing that can match the overwhelming rage of someone consumed with exacting their bloodlust is the very fire that burns within them, literally. So on one fateful night, at Shazana's own movie house, she and her boyfriend Marcel burned down their theater with every high-ranking Nazi villain trapped inside, including Big Adolf himself. All while a film of her laughing maniacally played over the carnage. It only cost her family business, the lives of her and her lover, and what was left of her sanity, but the price for that satisfaction doesn't come cheap. Evil begets evil, pain begets pain, and death begets death. Yet despite all of this, we are engaged, we are transfixed, and we are enamored with the righteous retribution of those we deem worthy of vindication. The John Wick franchise has become synonymous with incredible action and brilliantly designed stage fight scenes. It even coined the phrase gung fu. You know what that is. But the series started with off more than nothing but a man on a mission. a mission for revenge against those who wronged him in the worst kind of way. A mission that we eagerly wanted to join him on. You see, in storytelling, there's something known as saving the cat. It's a concept a writer uses to endear an audience to a character in a story by having a character do something kind and selfless like, well, saving a cat. The antithesis of this idea is known as kicking the dog. If a storyteller wants to make an audience despise a character, they'll have them do something cruel to an innocent creature like, you guessed it, kick a dog. In the first few minutes of the original John Wick film, a mobster's spoiled son and his band of hooligans break into John's home, steal his car, and beat him senseless. These are all pretty bad offenses that deserve some sort of retribution. However, none of those are so out of the ordinary that an audience would unanimously champion the demise of said villains. That is until the spoiled son, who's also known as Theon freaking Greyjoy from Game of Thrones, kicks the dog. And not just kicks him, but kicks him in the worst way possible. Like literally without mercy or hesitation, Theon brutally murders his dog, bro. Like it's really bad to see on screen. Like I said before, for every action, there is an equal reaction. And John's reaction comes at the cost of his soul. Years ago, John chose to live a quiet, peaceful life with his wife, and it was a beautiful, non-violent one with daisies and flowers and sun everywhere. But some offenses are harder to ignore than others. Before John even heals from his current wounds, he digs up his old ones, which each strike, John renders onto the cement floor of his basement. It becomes more and more evident that he's speeding down a one-way path of destruction. Destruction for those that not only disturbed his peace, but for his own welfare. If John was happy living for his wife and is content with living with his dog, without them, he's left living for only revenge. And vengeance doesn't make for the best roommate. Before long, John finds himself in countless gunfights with countless goons in countless damn arenas. They're all entertaining and undeniably fun to watch, but each savage encounter, it becomes increasingly clear that John has given up on any chance at the life that he wanted to live initially with his wife. He's thrown himself back into the bullet-riddled macabre for the head of a random punk, an objective nobody who causes John to endure unimaginable suffering for several more years in 3 more movies. Suffering that he may not have initiated, but he definitely indulged in. And we, the audience, indulged in his indulgence. With every bullet fired and every life taken, I know you were watching and salivating every time he did it. Is John at fault for his murder sprees, or are you, the people watching and enjoying it, at fault for encouraging them? It's hard to say for sure, but what we can say is both parties enjoyed every single minute. But not all tales of revenge are epically long and money printing franchises. Some are merely part of a grander overall story. One such tale involves another boy named Gon in the series Hunter x Hunter. By all accounts, Gon is your typical happy-go-lucky shonen protagonist. He's scrappy with a heart of gold. Sure, he can be a bit protective of his friends and loved ones, but that hardly seems unresponsible, especially in a world littered with high-paid assassins and magic-wielding super soldiers. But even someone as pure and naive as Gon is not beyond the appeal of a bloody vengeance. As I stated before, Gon is very protective of his friends and family like we all would be. We learn this early on in the story when he's ready to go to war for the sake of his best friend Killua. When he believes that his friend's been mistreated through the Hunter exam, he wastes no time in kicking doors of a legendary assassin family. You could say that his greatest flaw is that he cares too much, a flaw that truly bears his fangs later on in the story. And it happens in a way that epitomizes the dark side of revenge. See, in the Chimera Ants arc, Gon meets a man named Kite, who has a good history with his family. Gon, being a young man who never really had a father figure per se, quickly begins to look up to Kite. And Kite is actually worthy of the admiration. He even goes out of his own way to look out for Gon and Killua, a trait that ultimately leads to his downfall. In order to keep Gon and Killua out of the clutches of death, aka Pitu, Kite stays back and attempts to solo the aforementioned baddie, if you know, you know, despite knowing she's well beyond his abilities. While Killua reluctantly makes a retreat with an unconscious Gon, Kite bravely meets his untimely demise, a demise that would do more to harm Gon than the actual victim himself. As I mentioned before, Gon is a genuinely naive and easygoing kid. He looks for the best in people and situations first and foremost. So when Gon is separated from Kite for several weeks, he's certain that Kite's fine and will be waiting for him. Despite all the evidence of the contrary, despite all the warnings from his friends and teammates, Gon persists in his positive outlook. And in most stories, such an unyielding hope will be rewarded, you know? But this isn't a tale of hope, it's a tale of revenge. And revenge doesn't leave you positive or hopeful or whole. It leaves you wanting. And that want will drive you to give up anything and everything until there's nothing left. For once, Gon comes face to face with what Paito has done to his former mentor. He knowingly sacrifices every inch of his very being to ensure her eradication. This sweet, young, innocent child transforms into a monster that will give you enough nightmare fuel to put your therapist kids through college. Gon first surrenders his soul, then his mind, and eventually body. By the time he finishes exacting their vengeance, there's nothing left of him or the person that wronged him and his mentor, but charred, bloody scraps. And it's one of the most beloved moments in all of anime by how epic this moment was. I know so far the stories have been a little bit depressing and maybe a bit dark, but I wanted to show you guys just how versatile and deep these stories can be, and how much deeper they can go besides that of a simple eye for an eye story. Sometimes the stories that seem simple have a lot of depth, more than you would give them credit for. Hopefully, after watching this video, you can leave with a different perspective on how to consume your media itself. It's great to turn off your brain and sometimes watch a movie for just being silly fun, but there's different levels of enjoyment you can get from breaking down the layers of compelling stories. Simply put, movies are like all goodness. Get it? You know, like. Thank you to anyone who made it this far in the video. Before I go, I want to make sure that I let you guys know that if you want to be a part of a dope community and talk about stuff like these movies and shows and things of that nature, and even more other topics like revenge stories or love stories or whatever it may be, you can find that community in my Discord below. If you look in the description, you'll see a link there and you'll find me as well as other dope people like yourself that's watching. And if you haven't done so, please like the video. It makes it a lot easier for people like me to get exposure on the channels we have. Although we're not massive creators, we have the ability to be diverse and spread to the masses of people. If you guys just do us that free little favor and like the video. If you have a movie or a topic you want me to cover on the channel that I haven't yet, please reach out to me on any of the social media platforms that are also in the description below. And just hit me up in the Discord in general, man. Like, come talk to me. I love talking to you guys and interacting with the people that watch these videos and getting an idea of who the amazing people who support me are. Or if you're just watching this just to watch this in passing, again, thank you so much for watching the video. This is one that I put a lot of time into. Me as well as a friend of mine sat down and like really hashed out what we wanted this video to represent and what we wanted the script to even be. So yeah, some of it seems like it's really, you know, pretentious, I guess you can say that it is, but all in all, I wanted this video to be something that was dope because it really means a lot to me to talk about things like this. It's conversations I don't see too many other creators outside of myself or the other creators that I really admire talking about. So again, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for watching it up until this point, and thank you for, you know, just checking out the Captain and the dojo itself. Again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.